He didn't have time to study. It's all come up pretty quick. So just pray this morning. Get your Bible and turn to Joshua chapter number 10. I don't know, I've had this on my heart for the last few weeks. Kind of mentioned it in service before Sunday school one Sunday, and I don't know, it's just been there ever since. And this chapter, the 10th chapter, there's 5 kings that come up against this one city, and they were actually one of the cities. They were one of the Canaanite cities, and Joshua had been tricked into making a league and a covenant with them. They put on old clothes and brought stale bread, and they were actually within that boundary where God told Joshua not to make no league or no covenant with them. But they fooled them, and so they thought they was from a way off, and so they made a league with them and agreed to, they would pay them, I guess, tribute, what you might say, and they would take care of one another. But as soon as they did that, a lot of times, you just can't make an agreement without, they brought another problem on them. Whenever they made peace with Joshua and Israel. And when they did that, then they brought the whole Canaanite, these other 5, they got aggravated, and they were wanting to come against them. And when you give your life to the Lord and you come make peace with Him, then the devil's going to be very mad. He really is. He's going to be mad, and that's kind of, if you want to see what was happening in this 9th chapter. And let me read you this verse in chapter 9 of Joshua and verse 14. And the men took of their victuals and asked not counsel at the mouth of the Lord. Have you ever done that? You ever did something and you didn't ask God about it? You just step out there on your own. I know I always tried to pray and ask when I bought cars and things, and I asked, when I went and I got a good deal and everything worked out good, and the next time we just went right up there and just bought that piece of junk, never asked God nothing about it, never inquired at all, and they didn't ask. They just, a lot of times we don't ask God because we pretty well know what the answer is going to be, don't we? We ask for things that we shouldn't have and don't need to have, but they didn't ask, and so they got into a bind, what you might say. That put them in a bind because then they made an agreement, they made a contract. God's people are to keep their, I bought that car I was speaking about, and I went to the warranties where they really got me on it, and I went to have it worked on one time with that warranty. So man said, you paid about 2 or 3 times what that warranty's worth, and I got pretty mad. That aggravated me, and but I didn't ask God. I didn't pray about it, and I paid the price for that. But they didn't ask, and they got tricked. But still, yet, Joshua. He could have. Faithfulness is really important. What do you do when you're overwhelmed? When they gang up on you? When the enemies, you know what you do? Just like with, what the Bible says about Job? His wife recognized it. She said, do you still retain, your integrity? And then God asked Satan a little bit further on. He said, "You considered my servant Job. Ain't that good that God could point him out and say, you considered Job? You consider he still, you've made me move my hand against him, and he still retains his integrity. He still will keep, Joshua's messed up, and we've all messed up, and that makes me feel better to see Joshua here and to know that, look at Joshua, all the things he'd been through. He saw all the plagues down there. He saw them wandering in the wilderness. He saw all these things, and still yet he messed up. He didn't ask God. And that's easy to do, isn't it? But so let me just read. One of the things in Hebrews chapter number 10, I want to read you what it says in about verse 35. Cast not away therefore your confidence, which hath great recompense of reward. For ye have need of patience. You have need of patience. You've got to have it. Why does trials come? I'll tell you one thing that that came out of my long trial. For 7 years, what I went through. Friday nights being alone, Saturday nights being alone, everybody else with their families, and it really took a toll on me in a sense. But you know what I learned? Patience, endurance. You've got to have it. Look at Ai, the battle there. There was a man named Achan. And he disobeyed God. He took the wedge and the garments and the talents of the silver, and he got his whole family killed. And you know what else he did? He didn't get to see. Well, he could have been in this battle and seen what God would do, but instead he took the shortcut. He took and he went after the money and he kind of ducked that one. But listen to what he says here. For ye have need of patience, that after ye have done the will of God, ye might receive the promise. You're going to have to endure and wait. And patience and endurance is a great prize. I tell you what, it really is. God's serious about it because some of the things He puts us through is so serious. That's saying, hey, He's very serious about this humility and like with Paul and the thorn in the flesh, how that keeping him from getting so proud. God's serious about that because when we get proud. Somebody, I believe it was Marshall, had said, God can't use us. We'll never be too little for God to use us, but we can get too big. And God won't use you because you're too big, not because you're too little. But if he would have been able to be in these battles and his family would have been able to see this, see God work in such great and mighty. But if you quit too soon, you're not going to see that. When things get hard, here, all this was coming against them. But they just kept right on believing God. There where they broke up the ceiling and let the man, he said, and Jesus saw their face. He wants to see our faith sometimes. That's why He puts us through things. He wants to see our faith. He wants to see what we've got. We really trust Him. He had done told them, He told them up front back in Deuteronomy, He said, you'll go in before 7 nations. They're greater and they're mightier than you. And boy, I tell you what, that's not much to make you want to go to battle, is it? You remember the grapes, the spies came back, the grapes, it took 2 men to carry the grapes, and He said, it's bigger than you. This flesh and this world is bigger than you. You'll never defeat it by yourself. But the Lord said, I will take care of them for you. And He lets see your faith. You know it? as he wants to see our face sometimes. He wants us. It gets us in tight places, and we don't understand. Job didn't understand what in the world is going on. Here I've done everything. I've done everything you've asked me, God, and I've tried my eschewed evil, and I've tried, and what is going on? But he's patient, and he waits, and he suffers. Just like it's an endurance. You got to endure so you can see the promise. This man Achan, he didn't, so he never got to see this day here. But now it came to pass when Adonizedek, that's the best I can do with it, I guess. The king of Jerusalem had heard how Joshua had taken Ai and utterly destroyed it, as he had done to Jericho and her king. So he had done to Ai and her king, and now the inhabitants of Gibeon had made peace with Israel, and were among them that they feared greatly. This is all, we was kind of talking to another, that's psychological. There's psychological warfare. These 5 kings were scared too, because they had come in and they'd taken these big strong walls, had just fallen down for Israel, and they had taken Jericho just like that, and Ai, and they knew they were coming for them. And don't feel sorry. This is God's doing. Some people they'll go right when you get into this scripture, they'll start. Well, that's pretty cruel of God, but these people were an evil people, and God was judging them, and He was using the children of Israel to judge them. He waited. He told us that their sins and all is not full yet. So he was on time. He was absolutely right in what he did with these people, and how that he gave their land to somebody that had faith. But he says here, they feared greatly. He was working on their minds. This walls just fail. It would tear you up, and in life when problems come, it begin to work on your mind. Just for instance, I tell you, with old age, I can tell you from the place I'm at. Sometimes, and Sharon, she told me, she said, sometimes I begin to wonder and realize, that, hey, it's not going to be that long. I said, you're right, honey. It's not. We've not got as much time as we once had. If you let that get on your mind and on your, it'll wear you down. It'll worry you to death, and it'll make you become just to sit down and just to give up. But God's got it, and He'll give you the strength you need. I said, what if I can't? God's got the strength to give you. You can go do mightier things than you ever dreamed you could have. God's got the strength, and He can strengthen a man. But this fear, Satan will put fear on you. And there to begin every one of these battles, the Lord says, fear not. Don't fear. Be strong. Be courageous, is what He tells Joshua in this battle. Be courageous. Be strong. Trust in the Lord. Know that He's got you. And no matter what happens, He's got you. And so they're scared, and it says, therefore this king of Jerusalem sent to these 5 kings here in this verse, and said, come up unto me and help me, that ye may smite Gibeon, for it hath made peace with Joshua and with the children of Israel. Therefore the 5 kings of the Amorites, the kings of Jerusalem, the kings of Hebron, and these kings, they went up, they and all their host, and encamped before Gibeon, and made war against them. These, just like with Goliath, and there's a psychological, when that big giant came out there, and he's a big old man, And he challenges Israel, says, send me a man out here to fight with me. And it goes on for 40 days. Oh, it was wearing. It was wearing on them. Sometimes we just set too much and worry about things instead of just having faith and just trusting God and that He's going to give you the strength. He done knows all about the situation. He knew it before you ever knew it. But these 5 kings came and they camped, and that was to do the psychological thing too, to get it wearing on them. Hey, they asked man to help them. This king, these 5, and it called them together. They went to man, but the one that they'd made the covenant with, the men of Gibeon, sent to Joshua to Camp Gilgal, saying, "Slack not thy hand from thy servants. Come up quickly and save us and help us. For all the kings of the Amorites that dwell in the mountains are gathered together against us." In war, and they go quick. That element of surprise is necessary, isn't it? It surprised them, these 5 kings, to no end. Probably that Joshua came up there, had enough integrity that, like I said with that, I messed up in that car deal, but you know what? I paid every bit of that. I didn't say I'm not going to make another car payment because they tricked me. I done signed my name. I should have read the papers just a little bit more to what I was signing to, and paid every bit of it. Just like I took the loss, but I also took it to heart. That the next time I need to pray, I need to ask God. I need to find out what His will is, and He knows. He knows everything. But they said, "Slack not." And come on. And so Joshua ascended to Gilgal, he and all the people of war with him, and all the mighty men of valor. And the Lord said unto Joshua, "Fear them not, for I have delivered them into thine hand." We're not fighting for victory. We're fighting, our origin is victory. We're coming from victory. Jesus won the victory on Calvary's hill against death, hell, and the grave, and He's got the keys. He's done won the battle. And He says, He tells them, He said, "You're going to win. Pull the book up. Pull this book right here and go over about Revelations there. You'll see who wins. We're going to win." Sometimes the world will project on us we look at the news and we look at that we're going to lose. And there's absolutely they're greater than we are. And I look at sometimes the political part of this thing, and I see they're greater. There's so much there that this seems so greater. But you know what? They ain't greater than God. They ain't greater than what He has said. They're much lesser than that. We're all lesser than that, ain't we? If we don't believe it. "And there shall not a man of them stand before thee. Joshua therefore came unto them suddenly." Here's that element of surprise. I was just thinking, I don't know where you was at. 911, when the planes hit the building up there, and I was over in Seymour and I was loading dirt, and the guy driving the truck come over and he said, "Hey, they've in a plane hit a building." Then a few minutes he come back, "There's another one," and just that element of then there's the one crash, and you don't know what's going on. It works on your mind, and if you don't have faith in God, if you don't have that, then Satan's going to work with you. He's going to play with you like a little plaything, and you can't let him in your mind. You can't let him. God didn't give us that kind of a mind, but He gave us a mind of peace, didn't He? And a sound mind. But the Lord discomfited them before the Israel and slew them with a great slaughter at Gibeon and chased them along that the going up of the Beth Horon and smote them these other places. And it came to pass as they fled from before Israel and were going down to Beth Horon, that the Lord cast down great stones from heaven upon them they looked like they were so much greater, and they were outnumbered, and they were greater people as far as in this world. Jesus said, "This world, the children of they're wiser than the children of men." They got they're tricky, they're sly. The politicians, they're sly about the way they do things, and they're tricky, and they're a lot trickier sometimes than God's people are. And they get by with things. And these people, they were slick, but they couldn't fight against God and win. Nobody. Woe unto him that striveth with his master, with his maker. That's not going to come out good. But these stones begin to. I don't know how big they could have been. Great stones. They could have been that big around. Ice. I don't know. They could have been ice. But can you imagine something that big hitting you coming out of and these guys? And he didn't hit Israel. Just like at nights, how that down there in Egypt, how that the darkness didn't come into where the Israelites were at and God's people, but the Egyptians were the ones that, and he got the right ones. I mean, it was every one of them that he targeted them. And can you imagine what that would do to you if you was on the other side and all of a sudden, God's fighting again. That you're, this world one day is going to understand they've been fighting against God. And there's a time, and you go past that, and decisions made for you. It's too late. God's day of grace and of it's just too late. But notice how that, and the Bible said over here that they when they called them, they traveled all night. They got it together, and I mean all night long. When they said to come, he didn't halfway do it. Joshua, they knew they needed that element of surprise. They needed, we just failed so much. This chapter here shows us so much. We play too much. And I say we. Jesus said, if your hand offends you, cut it off. Well, that's pretty radical. Yeah. He's not really saying cut you. But if something's getting in your way and it's causing you not to grow, you need to get rid of it. You need to destroy it. When we made marriage, the man and the woman leave your mother and your father and cleave to her. And you've got to leave a lot of other things too. You've got to leave a lot of friends. There's a lot of friends I couldn't bring into my marriage. I couldn't. They lead me off. I couldn't bring them in. When I committed my life to Christ, I had to get rid of some friends. They would drag me out on Sundays. They would drag me out to do something else, and I had to just totally break it off. Just totally say no, because and they'd leave me out, and I know they would. You can't mess around with them. And Joshua's not messing around here. He tells them, Jesus said, if your eye's offending you, if it's getting you in trouble, get rid of it, whatever it is. Can you identify this morning what might be, getting in the way of you really, he said, destroy them. He said, destroy me. He didn't say run them. In Joshua on over there, we ain't got time to go into all that. But he said to destroy them. And they got, so they wanted to just drive them out. Well, they drove them out, but they come back. They drove them out, they just keep coming back. And if you don't destroy it, that means to just render it useless. To break it up, or just to where you can't use it no more. And we have to be more serious about our Christian life. They got after them, and you'll see here. I know we're probably not going to get into all that if I don't just go through it. They begin to chase. They've been up all night, and according to Google, I Googled this, and it may be here or there, but it's like 20 miles. One of them said 26 miles and 300 and something feet in elevation. One said 400 feet in elevation. So he's up, and it was at night. This was a rough, but you know what? They were serious about it, wasn't it? They were serious about the element of surprise and getting it done. And a lot of times, you know what? We just don't. That truck I drive, and it's got a big load on it. And there used to be a Detroit diesel, and they said it's scared to death of hills. You better drive it like you're mad. But when you see that hill, you don't let off the and you don't just you give it, and you get some momentum going. We don't really realize, things will start going good in a revival, and the church will be going good, and there's that element of just momentum, and we're going, and we're winning, and then we just want to start setting down and letting off, and it's, we've seen one saved, or we've seen two, and then Joshua didn't do that. They got, after all night long, getting down there, then they're chasing them. And there's 5 kings, you can read it on down here if you want, that he puts them in, they catch them, and they put them in a cave, and he didn't want to break the momentum. He didn't want to go over and take a victory lap then. He said, put them in that cave, and after all this is, we'll go over and we'll deal with them. But he knew that, hey, we're winning. Let's go. Don't stop. Don't stop the momentum. And so they chase them, and they run into their cities and all. And then Joshua asked God. It's right in the middle of it. He stops and prays, and he asked God, more or less, God, will you just the sun just stand still so that we can get this done? The longest day, but they had the strength to do it through God. You'd be surprised what you can do if you're really set on it, and you start getting your life straightened up. Don't quit halfway. You've got the momentum going. Stay after it. Stay right there and keep fighting, and fight till you win. We want to just lay down and quit, about halfway. But Joshua prays that, give me more sunlight so that we can finish this. It's amazing that God can make some days seem so much longer than others. You ever experienced that? You ever had a day that it just seemed like, man, that day is so long, and you can get so much done in it. And then there's some days don't seem like you can get nothing done. No, you just zip, it goes by. God's able to help us to make our days more productive, isn't He? And He's able to a whole day. He gave them another whole day because they were being serious about God's work and about His kingdom, about taking care of the enemy, taking care of what's in our lives, not playing around with it. So many times I just can't defeat things because I just play with it. I'm messing around, and God knows that. But boy, if you're serious, if you're doing business with God, God will do business with you. He gave them another whole day. The sun stood still, and they were allowed to keep fighting because Joshua knew about momentum. He didn't want that to die down. Even though they were no doubt would be tired, but he was wanting to get it done. If they had got away and say the sun had went down, they went and regrouped, wouldn't they? They'd went and they'd eat and they'd got their strength back, and they would have been ready to fight the next day. And that's the way it is. If we don't get stuff out of our life, it'll regroup on us, and it'll come back with a vengeance. Anybody got anything on any of this? Let me stop here and let you. Follow me, Jesus said. Follow me. Jesus was absolutely always about his Father's business. He was on task. He was serious. And, we need to follow him in that, don't we? We need to follow him in so many things. In forgiveness. Follow me, he said. I'll make you fishers of men. Those things in your life that you're following Jesus in, people see that. And that makes you attractive. That is the bait that really attracts, people that love, that, follow, love like Jesus did. That's what he wanted, wasn't it? They got getting off track a lot of times. The disciples got off track, and they were at the supper, and they won't know who's going to be the greatest, and all that. And they were off track. Jesus told them, be a servant. Be a servant. These things that you got to get radical. Is what I'm trying to say about your Christian life. You got to be serious. If you ain't serious, it won't work. Appreciate your prayers.